Hello, Sushi Crew. It's Thursday night and it has been quite the day. So I am checking in with you here to see how you are all doing. Let me take a look at chat. I'm sure we all know by now that the remains found in the Carlton Reserve are confirmed as being Brian Laundrie. So Brian Laundrie is deceased, confirmed by the FBI. I'm going to put that up on the screen real quick. But at first, I want to look and see what's going on in chat. It looks like we had a little commotion in chat earlier tonight. Glad we got that fixed. No big deal. That stuff happens. Ping, thank you for being on it. Hi, Tambra. Thank you for moderating. Ping, Rain Dancer. So nice to see everybody tonight. It's really, really good. I know it's odd that I'm on at 10:15 because usually the granddom of true crime is in this spot, but I'm saving her seat at the true crime table. That's what we do for each other. So she may pop in here later. We'll see. But right now, you got me. So deal with it. No, I'm just kidding. Hi, Carol Donaldson. Hello, Amanda Clampett. Oh, you guys are all so sweet. So let me go ahead and do this real quick and get the statement. I'm sure we've all seen it, but I'm going to go ahead and read it to you. So this is a news release. U.S. Department of Justice, Federal Bureau of Investigation, Denver Division, for immediate release Thursday, October 21st, 2021. On October 21st, 2021, a comparison of dental records confirmed that the human remains found at T. Mabry Carlton Jr. Memorial Reserve and Myakkahatchee Creek Environmental Park are those of Brian Laundrie. The FBI is grateful for the tremendous investigative support from our partners, Northport Police Department, Sarasota Police Department, Jackson Police Department, Charlotte County Sheriff's Office, Lee County Sheriff's Office, Sarasota County Sheriff's Office, Teton County Sheriff's Office, Teton County Search and Rescue, the Florida Wildlife Commission, the National Park Service, and the U.S. Forest Service. So, I have to ask you, where does that leave us now? Where does it leave us true crime people now? And I think it might be a good time to talk about, maybe play a little game called What I Wish I Knew. And here's how this game works. We put in the chat one piece of information that you wish you knew that would make this easier for you to stomach or understand. Just one. Just pick one. There's no wrong answers here. But for me, I think I wish I knew when Brian actually walked into that park and what that conversation. So I already broke a rule. I'm doing it two-part. That's my show. I can break the rules. You can break the rules too. Let's all be rebels. I wish I knew what the conversation was with his parents before he walked into that preserve. For me, that would help answer some of the stuff I'm struggling with, because I'm struggling with a lot tonight after hearing this. I'm struggling with what this means for Gabby's family. And I know we did touch on this last night, but one of the things that I personally take issue with is Gabby's family is not going to have that moment of seeing Brian in handcuffs, behind bars, in jail, knowing that he's going to have to face the music for what he allegedly did, or what most of us think he did, right? So there's that. But on the other hand, we don't know if Brian would have told us anything had he been in custody. That lawyer has, Stephen Bertolino, has really kept his clients quiet. And I think he would have kept Brian Laundrie quiet too. And I don't think Brian would have said much. So would that have been just so frustrating for the family that, they'd be losing their minds and angered and just overwhelmed with all those emotions. So that is one of the things that I'd like to know. I'd like to know if, he just told his parents everything that happened. And then he said, I'm going on a hike to kill myself. And somehow they were resolved in that, or they didn't believe him. I want to know that part of the story, and I want to know when it happened. That's me. So I'm going to look at the chat, and I am going to see what you guys are saying. And that way we can engage in some good conversation. I have some videos I want to play a little bit later as well. So we'll be doing that too. News Nation Now did a great piece with Stephen Bertolino, and I also have another one with an FBI agent commenting on this case. But first, I got to figure out something really quick. I'm having some technological issues, and I can't get off a screen. I put up multiple screens today, and for some reason, it'll bump over one screen, and then I'm stuck. So I just figured it out. Give me a second here. And there we go. Okay. So let me go ahead and let's go back to the chat and see what you guys are saying, because I saw some good comments. So let's see. All right, so I have to go up quite a ways because you guys are super, super responsive. Okay, so I'm going to start with Betsy Leak wants to know his cause of death. Renee P wants to know what his parents know. I want to know both of those too. Prince Charming, was it a suicide? I mean, do you not think it's a suicide? I think it was a suicide. For me, there's one of two choices. I think it's either a suicide and this is a stretch. It's a stretch. But it was some sort of mercy killing. His dad took care of him. But I want to say I can't see that, but been too many other things. Twin Mom 11 says she wants to see a confession in the Notebook. I'd like to see that too. And I was watching Joseph Scott Morgan on CNN tonight, and he was talking about how if that notebook was in the water, they need to get that to Quantico right away. And I think the way he described it is freeze it in time, preserve that notebook, because the paper is cellulose and it's breaking down at this point. But then I was also comforted to hear that perhaps that notebook was stored in a dry bag, so it was not exposed to the elements. So yeah, I'd like to see what's in the notebook too. Lisha, what did Brian's parents know? Absolutely. Was Brian killed by an animal? Yeah, I mean, I suppose he could have been hiking in there and was attacked. I think it's more than likely that happened post-mortem. I mean, alligators do attack, but they don't jump onto trails and grab people. Now bobcats will, but. Ooh, this is a good one, Kathy Lynch. Why did Brian fly home? I still want to know that myself. Why did Brian fly home? I would love to know what your thoughts are, and I'm way far behind in the chat right now, but because I'm going through these questions. But if you could pop on later and tell me if you have any speculation. I think that him and Gabby broke up. That's what I think. I think they had a fight, and that's why I went home. Unless we start following another line of thinking and we bring Brian into the other Moab murders of Crystal and Kylan. Cause of death. Yes, Kelly in Texas. Gosh, I want to know that too. I want to know it all. I want to know it all. Jennifer White. Why did Brian's parents know, or what did Brian's parents know, and when did they know it regarding Gabby? Yeah. I think that's the thing that bothers most of us. We want to know. We know we're never going to hear from Brian except for maybe through the journal. And so we have to rely on what he relayed to his parents and what they were believing at the time. He could have told them something very untrue, and they were believing it at the time. Let's see. L.A. What was written in his notebook in his backpack? Yes, absolutely. If he admitted to killing Gabby. I often think about that. Did he tell his parents that they broke off, that she ran off with another person, that she went on a hike and didn't come back and he was scared? Or what did he say to them? What excuse did he give them for Gabby not coming home with him and him returning in the van solo? Yeah, what should we all do? We want to know exactly, Amanda, what he conveyed to his parents. Sarah Vogel wants to know if the notebook is readable. Yeah, so let's hope it was in the dry bag, or like Joseph Scott Morgan said, that it is sent off to the FBI and it is preserved in the best way that they can. Here we go. I'll go. How could the parents know to find him so fast? John Benet Ramsey repeat. Yeah. They walked right in to a specific spot and found his backpack. The officer found the remains on the other side of the path, and you guys know the rest of the story. Shiva's girl. Let me see. Benzer 22. What triggered Brian to murder Gabby? Do you have any ideas about that? Because I do. I think that they were on August 27th, which would be around her date of death. It fits in with the coroner's time frame. They were eating at a Mexican restaurant called the Mary Piglets, and Brian was causing a scene in and out of the restaurant, yelling at the hostess. Brian's pitching a fit and then running out, and Gabby's running in, apologizing for him and clearly upset. And it goes on and just drags out and made people feel really, really uncomfortable. And I think, for lack of a better statement, he was kicked out. He was kicked out of the restaurant for whatever reason, being extremely rude to wait staff. And I think that argument continued. And because we know that there is a pattern of domestic violence, it continued out at the campground, the dispersed campground in Teton. Lillian wants to know if he left anything. Yeah, I would like to know that too. Catnip. I wish I knew what Gabby knew. Don't we all? When I was little, I was telling Trisha this the other night. When I was little, I used to ask my mom, I don't even know what we were talking about, because I must have been dark from the get-go. But I said, why can't they go back to dead people's eyes and does it not record, we could see what happened? I know that's been done in movies before, like science fiction movies. Hold on, I'm losing my voice. Okay. There we go. Much better. Sorry. Oh, Jolene, you're new here. Welcome. Why the parents didn't make him talk to Gabby's dad when he came to their house? Yeah, because but Joe Petito was hot that night, and rightfully so. He wanted answers, and he wanted them now. When he pulled up and saw his daughter's van in the driveway, and then she's not there, and they're passing out a card with the lawyer's name, and the cops are coming. Yeah, if Brian I don't know what I don't know what Joe Petito is capable of. I mean, I think he's a good person, but I think he's hot tempered, and like I said, rightfully so. Jenny Penny, the worst is ugh, the worst is that they don't get to make the victim impact statement to him. No, they don't. They don't. You're right, and that's terrible. I think that could be very cathartic for a family, but it's just the way it worked out this time. I really don't know how I feel about it. Again, an alive and captured Brian Laundrie could be a victim's family's worst nightmare. But they don't even get to experience that. Amanda says, I personally think Brian Laundrie was more afraid to face Joseph Petito than law enforcement. I absolutely agree. I would have been too. Joe Petito was not going to leave there without talking to him. Let's see. We go down. Everybody wants to know what's in the notebook. Me too. Oh, good. So nobody is questioning the identification process. That's good. Or I don't want to say nobody, but it seems like I was worried I was going to see those questions. Not that they would be wrong, or those statements, not that they would be wrong, but the FBI positively identified him using dental records. It's good evidence. It's science. They had been, I believe, provided previously, as well as other items collected from the home with Brian's DNA on them. So, all right. Again, a lot of things about the notebook. Everybody wants to know what's in the notebook. Let's see. What are we seeing here? LA. I think he didn't tell his parents he killed Gabby. Went camping with parents as a goodbye because he had a suicide plan. All very sad, all very unnecessary. I can't disagree with you more. I only wonder if the parents didn't have I don't know. I can't imagine parents being okay, like saying, oh, you're going to go in the woods and kill yourself. I really can't conceive of that, but I also can't, I could have never conceived of parents not, like the Laundries, not speaking to the Petitos. So there you go. Let's see. I think I'm going to call you PA Queen Bee. Queen Bee? I don't know. You're saying, so they actually found at least his jaw. Was DNA done? Were only dental records used? They said dental records. That's what the FBI statement said. And that is a reliable way for identification, especially when the FBI is in charge. So, ooh, this is a good one. And I'm going to have to mute my phone. This is funny. My friend, my true crime sweet friend, who's like deep into all this stuff, she is not deep in it to like we are. I'm sorry, I'm going to digress for a second. And doesn't watch me. She just messaged me, girl, why didn't you tell me they found Brian? I've been working and had no friggin' idea. You got to keep me updated, woman. Well, tune in, Mandy. That's how it happens. Silly girl. I think she relies on me to be her like all day long filling her in. It's kind of funny. So, Empress, talk a lot of caca. I wish I knew if he used a gun that can be linked to Gabby and the couple. Yeah, I would like to know too, because let's just talk self-harm. If he shot himself, it means that he had access to a gun, at least in Northport. So could that be linked to Crystal and Kylan? I think that's interesting, and I think that's worthy of consideration. Let's see. I missed one up here. Renee P. I think they never got a criminal attorney because they knew he was already dead. He couldn't talk to Gabby's dad. He was dead already. Okay, I think I sort of see what you're seeing. Stephen Bertolino, he's not, his expertise is not criminal defense, but he has done it in his past. And I'm not just addressing that with you, Renee. And just for everybody that keeps saying he's just a real estate attorney. No, he's done some criminal work. He has. Um, I think the parents did know that he killed himself. I don't know at what point. I think maybe when he went into the woods on the 12th, and then they found the note on the car, the Mustang, and left him a note on the Mustang. And then when they went back and got the Mustang, they had a pretty good idea that he was dead. I feel that. Let's see. Sensible Crime says, I was affected by a self-harm situation, and I'm sure if you saw me, you could think I wasn't upset enough. I was in shock and didn't cry for days. I tend to be like that too. My emotions are unpredictable, and sometimes things that would make other people just break down, I have no reaction to, and then sometimes it's a very little thing that'll just set me up, I think, or set me off. I think I let it build up, so that's understandable. And I just really, really, really scurry down the chat. This is interesting, Leah Vogel. She's saying, I read earlier that teeth have to be in bone, not loose, or they can't be used for identification. I don't know. If somebody has the answer to that, I'd like to know. Robin Swan says, they had guns. They'd go shooting cans and such. I'm not sure if he'd have the guts to shoot himself. That's why I said, I mean, is it crazy that I'm even asking if Brian's dad could have possibly killed him? Mom says, I think the investigation for Crystal and Kylan is over now. No, we'll see. That's interesting, because I've seen things where like everything's shut down and people are like, no, this is what it is, and then something new comes up and it's reopened. So that's interesting. I'm gonna keep that in the back of my head. And you're right. I saw Lillian Gale say up here somewhere, yeah, they can get DNA out of a tooth. I do know that. I hate chocolate. This is important. She says, we don't know how the parents were reacting behind closed doors. No, they wouldn't come out onto the lawn and scream and cry. That's true. They could have been grieving in that house for weeks. It'll be interesting. I wonder if we'll hear from Cassie anytime soon. Cassie meaning Brian's sister, sorry. The Andra O. That's not the truth about teeth. Okay, that's interesting. Good. Maybe we know that. Rotary Dial says, I want to think he told his parents he just needed to think things through and then explain everything or turn himself in. Yeah, I can see that scenario too. I can. He's like, I just got to, I got to take a walk in the woods. They're lawyered up. I've got to clear my head. We have plans to do this when I come back, and he just doesn't come back. And then Jennifer White says, it's the partial skull that makes me think he shot himself. So I'm having a hard time with the partial skull thing, because although I've heard it, I haven't heard it from the people I want to hear it from. Does that make sense? That's a really bad angle. I honest to God don't have gels like that. I don't know how that happens. Let's see. Yep, we read that. And I know I missed a good one up here before. Let's see what you're saying, Black Lab OG. Maybe you already discussed this before, but how long does everyone think he has been dead for? I know Florida has a lot of rain, so I don't know how fast decomp works. Well, I've been talking about this all day, so I'm glad you brought it up. So bodies decompose very rapidly in stagnant water and in warm tropical conditions. And this is going to be a graphic description. And some of you that I talked to today heard me, say this already. It's horrible, but it's a good analogy. So these areas of water that they're talking about, it's not like a creek is overflowing or a pond is overflowing or anything like that. It's literally a deluge of rain. And the ground, because most of Florida is filled in swampland, okay, and this park is no exception. It's probably been left pristine. When it rains, the ground gets oversaturated, and we find areas that go underwater. And then through evaporation and absorption, so evaporation from up here, and absorption where the soil is slowly drying out and can help with that, and it could trickle down into the limestone and all that, which is how Florida works. It dries out. In the meantime, it's especially during this time, it has been super hot. So that water gets like bath water temperature. And then the tropical foliage around it will keep it warm as well. And so it's not one massive area of water. You have to understand there's maybe an area, that is 5 feet wide and 7 feet deep. And then 4 feet away, there's another one that's 7 feet wide and 8 feet deep. And then down here, there's water that's only a foot deep. And so I don't want to call them puddles, but these areas of water are not large. It's not large amounts of water, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So it's not a large amount of water, and it's constantly being heated and by the sun, and then kept warm by the tropical foliage. And so it acts like a little crock pot. I mean, without a lid, of course, but it acts like a crock pot. And so if you've ever put a whole chicken into a crock pot and put it on a low setting, and then, 6 hours later, 7 hours later, I looked in there, what has happened? The chicken is no longer on the bone. So I believe he's probably been out there for the 5 weeks, and that's why he was skeletonized. That is my opinion. But and a lot of that is based on the medical examiner's testimony, Dr. G, or Dr. Jarvalia, in the Casey Anthony case, because Kaylee Anthony was found skeletonized. She had been submerged in water for quite some time as well. But it was rapid decomposition for her too. So, let's see. Well, somebody's saying something's not true. I don't know. I guess we're talking about criminals. But you could remove your teeth and not be dead. Criminals have faked their death. That's why I wondered if there was a jawbone or other necessary bones found of his. I believe there's enough of him. If the FBI is saying that that's Brian and he's dead, there's enough of him where he can't be walking around without those parts, I guess, for lack of a better way to say it. So, and you guys are right. You get DNA extracted from pulp and teeth. Yes. Let me scroll down here. Scrolling. Kim Schlicker, you're never late. You're always right on time. That's how I feel about it here. A lot of jokes about alligators. I get it. So red like wine again. That's what I was. As far as I know, I haven't seen Cassie, Brian's sister, speak with the media. And Kathy Lynch, this is a good question. And I'm sorry, red like wine again. speak to the media since Brian has been declared deceased. And then Kathy Lynch says the parents took his car home. Why? My understanding, so this is not made sense to me either. My understanding is that Brian takes the Mustang to the reserve and he doesn't come back. It's several hours or a day. He doesn't come back. So the parents drive out there and there's the Mustang and there's like one of those cards or like a note from law enforcement on it or park ranger or whatever, somebody in charge. It says you can't park this car here overnight. This is your warning. So the parents leave a note on the car as well. Like, hey, Brian, we're worried about you. Check in with us. They return again and the car is still there. The notes are still there. And it's at that point that they take the car home because it can't be left there. It's going to be towed. Now, why they didn't report him missing then, I don't know. That's where, that's one of the points where things start getting crazy. I mean, there's a lot of things in here that don't make sense, and you wonder, like, why didn't this happen in that moment? If you can recall, Roberta Laundrie first said that Brian disappeared into the Carlton Reserve on the 13th of September. And then she came back a couple weeks later and said, oh, I messed up a date. It was the 12th. He actually went out on the 12th, which is the day after Gabby's officially reported missing, right? So now it's the 12th. But she didn't tell authorities he was missing until the 17th, which was Friday. So I would think that if your son went hiking, his car is basically abandoned and you are at the point where you're driving it back home because you don't want it towed, that it's at that point that you report your child missing, right? I mean, I would think so. So let's see. If you think a family member is unstable or suicidal, you don't just stand by and wait for the body to be found. Maybe they, I think there might be a situation where they knew that it had already happened. I don't know. But I agree. Let's see. What else is going on? I need to find. All right, fine. Okay, so this is a shout out to the Laundry Lost and Found, the Lost Sock Lost and Found Laundry Company. It's Brian and Roberta really good at, or Brian and Roberta. Roberta and Chris are really good at finding things. Mark Klein needs his car keys found. So that's your first case. Remember, I'm the one that set you up and put you in business. You guys seem to, take 11 minutes and stroll into a park and find things that nobody found for a month. And so, I think you should be a little bit more entrepreneurial. Showcase your skills. We're all missing things, and maybe you can, help us all out and teach us some things. So I do. That's a good, actually a good stopping point, I guess. Not stopping point, but transitioning point. I want to play you a video, and it has to do with that. And I'm going to warn you ahead of time that there's a spot in this clip where Jennifer Coffendoffer's audio goes kind of robotic. She loses her feed. So you're going to hear that. It's not my computer. I can't do anything to fix it. And there's not another video. And I think it's important enough to play, but it's not terribly distracting. You can still make out what she's saying. But go ahead and click on that and get that started for you.
Live streaming can be tricky and sometimes
sure can, especially when you're talking commercials. So it looks like maybe we're going to have to, well, this stinks. You set it up and then you have to watch the commercial. No, that's okay. Let me just make sure this is showing up here. I'm going to go ahead and play it. You guys are going to hear.
I'm trying to find the right software to make your screens look really professional. Can be real guard. That user face is really simple to understand and can give you a professional look without a whole lot of trying to figure out what you're supposed to do.
And get back to the screen. Skip it.
If you're just joining us, we have breaking news tonight that the skeletal remains found yesterday in Florida are in fact that of Brian Laundrie, who FBI investigators, police have been searching for about 6 weeks at this point, looking for him. Joining us now to give us a little more insight on this breaking news, former FBI Special Agent Jennifer Coffendorfer. Jennifer, thank you for being with us here. Obviously, very breaking news. Just learning this, that those remains are in fact Brian Laundrie's remains. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think after the discovery was made of articles that they knew belonged to him were found very close to where the remains were found, I think all of us probably anticipated this news, although you need to get the medical confirmation that it was truly him. I am not surprised at this point that the remains are his. And sometimes in an investigation, you just have to take a step back. We all who have been following this from the very beginning had a set of clues that were leading us to think he was not in that reserve, which was confirmed, of course, when for 5 weeks, law enforcement could not find him. Sometimes you have to step back and look at the new set of clues before you. It reminds me of a case I had, one of my last cases, of a missing 6-year-old, where we thought it was the mother and it ended up not being the mother when all the facts came together. And I think we have to look at the possibility that really what happened was he went in after he returned from his trip, after he had committed this horrible crime. He went there, he committed suicide very early on. His parents knew where he went because that was the location of that Mustang. Mm-hmm. They had searched there many, many times previously. Unfortunately, it was early in the investigation before those waters had receded, continued searching the other 20,000+ acres. And it aligned where their search was not contemporary with the waters receding to expose the body and the belongings.
Well, and Jennifer, they were searching for 6 weeks, and then, the day after this park reopens, his parents make this discovery. What do you think about that?
I don't like it. It smells rotten. It smells bad, especially with the cloud of wondering what these parents had been up to all of these weeks. But like I said, sometimes you have to just step back and look at the facts we have before us. I do not believe those parents or somebody else went into the reserve and planted his bones. Mm-hmm. I don't believe. I think that it was the perfect storm with that reserve opening, them wanting to go look for their son, since now for the first time it was open. Mm-hmm. They went to the exact same place that they took law enforcement previously. It just was not exposed.
And sometimes, as you said, sometimes that happens. Well, what do you think? I mean, if he had been out there, at this point for days, for weeks, possibly, how likely are we to find out, maybe a cause of death or how long he had in fact been out there?
Well, in my experience with these specific kinds of cases, usually the person that does choose not to run but commit suicide either hangs themselves or they shoot themselves. And if the bones of the skull are intact, I think an ME is going to be able to make that determination if he shot himself.
And, what do you think this means just overall for the investigation? Certainly for Gabby Petito's parents, because there's going to be so many questions that just go unanswered, potentially.
It is so tragic for the families of these victims not to get their questions answered, not to be able to face this person, not to have this person be really in jail suffering for this crime they've committed. It makes for no peace for the Petito family, and it is so sad.
And just quickly, my last question for you, Jennifer. Is this what you anticipated? Is this how you thought it would end?
No, from pretty early on. And again, this was based on the facts we had before us. The fact of the vehicle being brought and then taken back. The fact that the Laundries were not at all cooperative. The fact that they lawyered up. The fact that Brian lawyered up. The
You didn't
fact
think
that
this would happen?
Yeah, no,
Didn't
I did
think it.
not. And 6 weeks of him not being found, it made me
End of the day.
even further believe that.
Well,
You guys, I'm sitting here talking and I'm muted. Sorry. Okay, so that was Jennifer Coffendorfer. She always has an interesting perspective. I really enjoy listening to her. And this whole time, she was convinced that Brian was still alive because she hadn't seen a reaction that warranted a child being missing. And more so of an attitude of they knew exactly where their son was. Now, I guess maybe they really did. Maybe they knew he went in there and killed himself, so they did know exactly where he was. I did see there was a question earlier, real quick. Why didn't the dog smell him in the water? I will link a video in the comments. That last video is courtesy of News Nation Now. I will link another video in the description when we're done. Dog handlers cannot figure out why the dogs did not smell a body in that water either. So that's kind of a mystery. But I do agree with Jennifer Coffendorfer. And I'm not trying to be rude. I'm not trying to be funny when I say this, but I don't think that Brian's parents had human remains in their freezer and they were waiting for the park to open up so they could dump Brian in there and find him. I don't think they drug bones in there. I think he was in there, and I think this was a misstep. It's a big misstep, but we've seen that with this case a couple of times. So they didn't have eyes on Brian, those kind of things. There's a lot of, I think, initial arrogance, and there were some things mishandled. I also saw, and I put it on screen, I think it was Leah Vogel said, I'm glad that this is over. I'm glad this part is over too. Again, I can't say this is how I wanted it to end. There's pros and cons for him being found alive and being found this way. I don't know. But as far as the everyday, where in the world is Carmen Santiago? I mean, Brian Laundrie, and it's exhausting. And I actually had somebody email me today and said that I hope this, well, I can say this, because it was said very nicely. This person said, I can tell this case is taking a toll on both you and Trisha. You look tired. You look exhausted. Well, so are you guys. I mean, we're constantly have our TV on. Some of us that I know people that have never used Twitter in their life that are actually addicted to it now because, I mean, they don't want to sleep. They don't want to miss anything. So, yeah. So, another point that we can transition here. I have somebody sitting backstage that I want to join us, and she has a special announcement, and I am going to add her to the stream. So, ladies and gentlemen, please fasten your seatbelts. Please address her accordingly. The Grand Dame of True Crime, Trisha Griffith, owner of Websleuth or Websleuth.com, and host of Web Sleuths YouTube Live. How are you doing?
Hi, and Amy, thank you so much for taking my spot tonight. I really appreciate it. Yes, I think you have me confused with another grand dam, because I literally had to take the night off to clean my house because tomorrow, and I don't know where this is going to go, people, but tomorrow, NBC/Universal Studios, they're coming to my house to film a day in the life of the owner of Web Sleuths. Now, let me tell you how incredibly flipping boring this is going to be. And I've warned them. I've tried to stop them. What you see now, this is how I'll be. And I'll be on the phone and I'll be going, oh, he's a son of a bitch. Why doesn't she break up? Oh, got to take a call. Boom. Then it's my mod, and we talk about, yeah, this person threatened to kill somebody. Yes, you should probably ban them. Okay, thanks. Bye. And then there's another person and another person from Web Sleuths, and then I need to go on and change something. And that's it. That's it. Of course, there is the exciting part. So I get up and let Scrappy in and out 400 times during the day. But she seems that they seem to think that it's going to be something. Now, from what I understand, this is from a part of NBC Universal that creates like big packages for other NBC Universal outlets, and they create these packages, and then they're picked up or whatever. So because of Gabby's case, everybody is into the people sleuthing online, and I have to admit I was thrilled when the first producer called me, and he says, the only place to go really is websleuths.com. That was the first place I reached out to, and I thought I was very thrilled with that.
As you should be.
Well, and again, guys, it's the moderators and the members. I'm just back here literally taking the phone calls. So they do such an amazing job, and I'm so thrilled that they want to film me talking to the mods, and I'll have the mods on speaker, because they deserve so much credit for what Web Sleuths has become and how much Web Sleuths does. And I'm hoping this is another little itty bitty step toward somebody in law enforcement going, she's saying she can help us. Maybe I should reach out and see what she can do. Because, gosh, yes, Web Sleuths doesn't allow crazy rumors, and we're not like Facebook or other places. Reddit's pretty good, but they can still get pretty wild there too. So
it's still kind of the wild, wild west.
Right. So we're trying to, again, there's no rule book, there's no handbook. I literally have been making this up as I go along. And if it hadn't been for websleuths.com, I don't know where I'd be right now, because I had literally lost everything in my life. And I was severely depressed, and I don't know if I'd be here if it wasn't for Web Sleuths. So hold on. There's somebody texting me, probably telling me I have spinach in my teeth. My friends are so sweet to me. They text me live on the air to tell me what's wrong. And I'm like, what do you want me to do?
What did it say?
Oh, it just said no show tonight. I don't think she got she didn't get the memo that you're taking over.
I tried to tell people, it's like I'm saving your seat at the true crime lunch table, because you guys are all so sweet, and they're so protective of your crowd, and the crowd that we share is very protective of you. And when I put out that it was going at 10:15, they're like, "Oh no, she's not." No, no, you didn't. I must have got. I really did. I got about 30 texts like, what's going on? What are you doing? And I'm like, it's okay, it's cool. She knows.
I asked. I said, could you please take over my my spot tonight, because I've got so much to do. And you so graciously said yes, and I really, really do appreciate it. So, okay. And I want to say hi to Allison on Facebook. She's watching you too now. So, and she's stuck in Facebook land. Hey, Amy, did you talk about the press conference today, the one earlier?
No, but I have it queued up. Should we watch it together?
Can we watch it together? I need to take a break, and I want to see. How long is it?
It's only a couple of minutes.
Okay, good. I'm gonna run, grab a drink.
Okay.
You play it, but you guys, I want you to really watch this press conference and tell me what kind of press conference this is.
Yeah.
Because it's one we've never seen before.
No, I texted her while it was going on. I was like, what the actual...
Yeah. Oh, and let's see. G-Dub says, can you ask Trisha why she looks like she's cleaning a crime scene with those gloves on? I do. Looks like I've had a few murders, but no. The only thing getting murdered here are old paper plates and dust and the floor that I'm trying to wax. That's it. So
it looks like you're about to give somebody like an orifice check, and
I know.
yeah,
Watch out, baby. I'm a coming.
All right, nobody dropped the soap.
All righty. So let's watch it. That's great.
Let me cue it up and share the screen and
do
that, and then you'll come back with your drink.
Yes, I will.
It was on. I had seen it on Facebook, so I think that's where I'm gonna have to go to.
It's unbelievable.
It really is. It's crazy. From top, Facebook. Share. All right, here we go. Let me just make sure you guys can see it. I always have a fear that I'm going to hit play and you guys are going to be like, what? And I think I have to mute both of us. Okay. So you guys, I'm counting on you in the chat. If it's working different on Facebook than it did on YouTube, yell at me right away. But for right now, I'm going to mute both. Okay, you guys, can you hear me? I'm going to stop this. What is this madness that's going on right now? Okay. Oh, I just figured it out. I'm going to have to start it over again. Sorry, guys. Give me 1 second. All right, let me back here. Let me mute my...
You want to be close to the mic?
Yeah.
Good morning, everybody. First, before we say, I'm sorry, right here? Right here, okay. Good morning, everybody. First, I'd like to say, before I say one word, our thoughts and prayers are with Gabby and the families here. This is tragic, but I will tell you, this tragedy brings us all together. I couldn't be more proud of Chief Todd Garrison, Sarasota Sheriff Kurt Hoffman, the FBI, and all law enforcement agencies that are here today. This is my first time being here. We have deployed, Chief Garrison and I have been in constant contact since the beginning of the incident. We deployed assets immediately, resources, deputies, our Faro system, which can analyze a crime scene and save hours and hours of man hours. Our drones, the Dragonfish. Dragonfish has the capability of flying 67 miles an hour and 18.6 miles away from the operator with a FLIR and all the capabilities of a helicopter. Today, when I walked back there, I got to see firsthand the treacherous conditions that they were working on. We're talking about water levels up above almost the chest area, rattlesnakes, moccasins, alligators. And these heroes go out there. While we can't change the outcome, we can bring justice. And today, I'm very, very proud to say that Chief Garrison and our team of law enforcement, which is regional, it doesn't matter what color patch or uniform you wear, we work as one team and one family. And the law enforcement community came together, and I'm very proud to be a part of that. Chief Garrison, like to say a few words?
Well, thank you, Sheriff. It means a lot. As we said yesterday, not one agency can handle all of this, and it's important that we rely on our partners. And Sheriff Carmine Marcino and Sheriff Kurt Hoffman have been huge players in helping this investigation throughout, also with the FBI. So I just want to say thank you.
Thank you. You know, it's challenging times. I know everybody wants to know exactly what's going on every second possible. All of America's watching, okay? But we'll never jeopardize an investigation to give that information out until the time is right. But again, I want to reiterate, this is a difficult business we're in law enforcement. Things change by the second, by the minute. These are very difficult conditions. I mean, you're searching in areas that you just can't walk up and look. It's not like you're searching a house or a car. These areas are huge and they're covered by water. So I couldn't be more proud of the team. Once again, I mean, Sheriff Hoffman from Sarasota, we're all one family. Sheriff's done a great job. Chief Garrison and our FBI, second to none. They came together from all over. We're talking about, you know, different states of communication here. And the end result is one team, one family working to bring closure. Again, our thoughts and prayers are with the family members, and it's tragedy. Thank you.
Why do you think Brian Laundrie's family found these items in a day?
Do you think if the Laundries would have cooperated?
Was it Connie, my one flipping life?
I hadn't unmuted you yet. I'm sorry.
Oh. Am I demuted?
You're demuted.
Okay. I think it was Connie. Was it Connie, my one flipping life, that said, newsflash, they broke both their arms patting each other on the back?
Spoiler alert.
Yes, that's it. I mean, this is so embarrassing. And this exact same thing happened in the Elizabeth Smart case. Remember, the cops were all after Richard Reese, and they had his parole violated. They kept him in the Utah State Prison for drinking a beer. They questioned him so hard and so much, literally his brain exploded. And then boom, Elizabeth is found walking down the street with those two crazy people. And people have been telling them that it was these people. People have been telling the police, you know, this was Manuel and his wife, and they weren't listening. And so they held a press conference that day, and all they did was pat each other on the back. Never said a word about Richard Reese, never said a word about the fact that he's dead, nothing to his widow. And it was horrible. In this case, and Amy, you said this, I'm going to give you credit for it because it's true. I think this was because the FBI gave the press conference yesterday. And I think it was a territorial, as pardon my French, adult alert. I think this was a pissing match between boys, you know, and they had to get in there and say, oh, look how great we are. Look at what we're doing. Why gather everybody like that and act like you're going to have a press conference and then do something like this? This is embarrassing.
It was embarrassing. When I was watching it, I told you this today. So I watched it, and then I sat there like, what did I just
watch? Yeah.
And then I thought, wait, is this a parody? Like, did somebody make a like, you know, because the guy's all like to the side, he's like, we're, you know, this and that, and it's not easy to go out in the woods and find stuff. And it's like, so yeah, I think there's a lot of ego in law enforcement, and they were not, you know, they didn't feel equally recognized yesterday when the FBI made a press conference. And, you know, here's a spoiler alert. Press conferences are not about the investigators. They're about the victims.
Well, yeah.
So may not be included. In fact, the people announcing, you may never know their names. You may never know the name of the PIO unless you have to contact them. So get over it. There's just a lot of ego involved. And my favorite part of that press conference, it's at the end, and you hear this guy go, is this a press conference?
I know. That was perfect. That's what everybody should have, yelled out.
It was crazy.
This could have been handled with a press release, you know, because I think that's really unfair for those two people to gather the press and this is such a huge case and everybody's waiting for some new information. And then to hear that, it's like, are you kidding me? Now, I made some notes and I need to ask you guys something here because I cannot figure this out. So is it, how tall is Chief Garrison? Because he looks like he's as tall as Herman Munster. I think he's a good looking guy, but compared to the sheriff, I'm like, oh my God, if he gets mad at him, he's just going to have to take his neck between his two fingers and snap him. I mean, he's tall. I'm not saying he's heavy. I couldn't believe it.
He's built like a moose.
He is.
He is. He's built like a linebacker. He probably was. It's a small town. And he probably,
right.
That's what the linebackers in those little towns do. The other guy's short. He could have eaten him and had his body inside of him, and we wouldn't be able to tell the difference.
Never told the difference. Exactly. So the visual was
stacking dolls.
Exactly. So the visual was very odd, And I'm looking at this, and like you, Amy, when it was done, I didn't know what to say because again, there was nothing in there that would interest the press or anybody out. That doesn't mean we don't appreciate their work, and I'm glad they're working together. That's great. But that means they're doing their job. Are they calling a press conference to pat themselves on the back for doing their job? Well, that's pretty lame.
Well, and also it's defensive too. Like, hey, we've been out here for weeks and we didn't find Jack, you know what?
Yeah.
But then, 8 minutes out of the gate, like a what do you call them? Those bulls?
Oh yeah. the running of the bulls, yeah.
8 minutes out of the bullpen, Roberta and Chris are like,
we got it.
Right between a bull and a truffle smelling pig.
I know.
Everything. So yeah, it's embarrassing for them. It's terribly embarrassing. And he's got tiny man syndrome. And then the other guy's all like, oh, I'm like big and tenderhearted and my feelings hurt. And the little guy's like, don't worry, I'll get you.
I'll save you.
I'll save you. Let's have a prep,
Yeah. Runs back under his little mushroom house. Yeah. Now, okay. Amy, everybody, I hope you all saw Brad Dennis the other night. He is the director of the Class Kids Foundation, and he's the head of the Class Kids search team. He's a wonderful man, and all he does all day long, literally all day long, is try and help people and try and help families with missing family members. And he does it graciously, and he does it with humbly. Could you ever see him doing something like that? Never. He would never get out there and go, yeah, well, our search team, we did such a great job. And you would never hear that from him. He would die first before he'd do anything like that.
It was the craziest thing I've ever seen. Like I said, I was like, what am I watching? Like, and I thought, well, they're just doing this brotherhood, like attaboy thing. And then they'll get into something and they'll tell everything. But sadly, for those that are just tuning in, you'll have to catch it on the replay. That didn't happen. There was nothing. Let me tell you, I'll do it in my Keith Morrison voice. There was nothing good that happened in that press conference. No, it was, history is hip. It was an ego fest. I was waiting for them to I'm sorry, Trisha's the one with the blue gloves on, but pull down their pants and get out some rulers or something.
Yeah, so that's exactly what it was like.
Here's where the FBI is, and here's where we are. But was it even about the FBI? I think it was more about the parents and Brian. That trifecta has been public enemy number one for weeks.
Right.
And like I said, who walks in and goes, oh, I see my son's roommate. Oh, Roberta, I see his backpack and
look at this
Reserve journal. How lucky of us. While the sun is coming down through the foliage.
I know.
Illuminating everything.
Okay, now I'm going to say something that just don't kill the messenger here, okay? Sure. But let's just talk about theories for just a moment. Then I got to get back to I broke a dish in my garbage disposal, and I have to get all that glass out. And there are bugs down there trying to kill me. They have fangs, and it's just very dangerous. But anyway.
I know some cops in Northport that can help you.
They can. I bet if I called 911, they'd come rushing out, man. I'd do it too if I thought I could get away with it. Okay. Will we ever be able to accept the fact that literally it could have gone down, that they legitimately found Brian's stuff because they knew that's where he went, and they knew the water had receded, and it was just, they were going to start there and then just look around since the park was going to be reopened? Are we ever going to be able to accept that fact that maybe it just is what it is and there's nothing nefarious behind it? Silence, pure silence.
I'm still, I say this a lot, but I mean it. I have to let things marinate.
Right.
I really do. I really have to think about things. I think it's highly suspicious. I don't like it. It smells. There's something, there's like, instead of there's something rotten in Denmark, there's something rotten in Northport.
Mm-hmm.
But because they knew where their son camped, because they knew where he was going, and because they had pointed out this place before, I can accept that they walked in there and pointed out that area. What I can't get past right now is the questions that even experts are asking right now. There were a lot of interviews with dog handlers this evening on the news. I was trying to watch everything I could before we went live. Sorry, somebody just thought it was funny to say something nasty, but that's okay. I hope you got your little thrill. Yeah. Well, you're famous for like 2 seconds. Anyway, but I digress. I was trying to watch everything I could before we went live tonight. One of the things that these dog handlers were saying is that even if Brian, which he wasn't, was submerged 2 or 3 feet, the dog should have been able to smell that. And so it is, I guess, questionable why they didn't alert on it. On the other hand, we have to be reasonable. And like I said before, we know that Brian wasn't in his parents' freezer dead and they were going to plant him. They didn't have a bag of bones with them. I mean, that's just not what happened. And so it's missteps, and we've seen a lot of missteps in this investigation. A lot.
And okay, so let's add another one. Would we ever be able to accept the fact that these dogs made a mistake, and they've been known to make mistakes, and missed Brian?
Yes, I can.
Yeah. I mean, could it just be, it is what it is. Parents had no idea. They had nothing to go on other than at the back. They know that's where he liked to go.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe the dogs just missed him. It could be as simple as that. Then again, I can't help but go to, did they know that's what he was going to do and they let him go do it? Because we don't know what kind of life they had in that house.
Well,
and it's been horrendous for all of them because of Brian.
You and I were talking about this morning. Mm-hmm. There's very few things that we know that are fact. We also don't have any history or knowledge of what that family was like before this happened.
Right.
And in fact, the Petitos and the Schmidts were asked not to talk about what their relationship was with the Laundrie family prior to this too. So we don't even have any insights there. We may now because they may be more. Sorry, this is gonna flop in my face. They may be able to be more transparent now that Brian isn't a fugitive and he is deceased. This case will still go on, you guys. It's just it's taken a different turn. They're still going to investigate and try to get to the bottom of this. It's unfortunate, but like I said, if they had captured Brian we could have had a 3-4 year scenario where he just tortured this family by not talking and being a little, you know what.
Or he could have been lying, stealing, using drugs, just making their life a living hell.
Right.
And maybe they just went, we give up. You know, you can't, when they're an adult, you can't force them to be committed.
No.
And maybe they couldn't talk him out of doing it. And what a horrible thing to say. I would throw myself, well, I don't, you know, I would throw myself in front of my son. You know, he'd have to drag me. But we don't know what went on behind those closed doors.
No,
and as much as we have judged the Laundries, and rightly so, for what they did to Gabby's family, in this situation, we have to just kind of wait and see. Because maybe they're just the type of people that go, okay, he's going to do it anyway. We can't stop him. They'll find him, and our nightmare will be over. And then the police didn't find him, so they had to go help him. I mean, I don't know.
Well,
and,
yeah.
A lot of people are saying that the dad, like you said, the dad may have helped him. But I'm sorry, Amy, go ahead.
No. Yeah, there. I mean, I suppose I can't imagine a parent being able to do it, but you know, we, like I said, we don't know them.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe this was a mercy killing, and his dad went out there with him, and it was like, just, I don't want to go to jail. I don't want this to happen. I don't want this to be my life. Just do it.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose it could have happened. There's a lot of people that say that they had a conversation out at the campground on the 6th about turning himself in. They were lawyered up. They came home the 11th. Gabby's reported missing. The shiz is starting to get real.
Right.
And Brian is they're making arrangements, or the attorney hasn't called the police yet. They're making arrangements to turn himself in. And he says, I need to go take a walk and clear my head.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have, he doesn't return. They go find the note on the Mustang, so on and so forth. So there's that scenario. And then there's another one where it's like, I can't imagine this either, but he's just saying to himself and telling his parents, like, I can't live like this. I can't do this or whatever. And he walked out into the woods and they didn't stop him.
Yeah, that could be.
Regardless, it doesn't make any sense of why it's been drawn out this long.
Right.
Because I would think that if they knew a very specific spot, like they went and looked today, yesterday, as a parent, I would have been extremely insistent. My child is not on the run. This is where my child goes. My child is deceased, and it's got to be in this area. It's got to be in this area. And isn't it weird that they find all those things in that area that they didn't find before, and that the dogs didn't smell it before? And I hate criticizing law enforcement, but I think this was done very sloppy.
Yeah, I do too. Well, again, and let's remember, small town, they only have so many resources, and yeah, they did have other people come in, but it was a hectic time. And in situations like that, where you have different law enforcement agencies, you have law enforcement volunteers, it's hard to have a central communication system where everybody's on the same page. And so I think it was a big cluster, and it just happened. Mm-hmm. And it's easy for us to sit back and Monday morning quarterback. That's what I do best. I am the #1 draft pick for Monday morning quarterbacking. Yeah. But I think that's part of the problem as well. So we just have to wait and see, and we may have to accept that this literally was just exactly what it seemed, exactly what they said it was. They just came out, didn't know he was there, and they happened to find that stuff. Mm-hmm. And the dogs made a mistake. Now, that's a two-pronged thing that we have to believe and we have to accept. Makes it a little harder. I was wrong. I thought Brian was still alive. So I can't say for sure. We won't know unless the Laundries talk, and they may never talk, or somebody leaks it in the police department, or one of their friends leaks it. I mean, something like that. But I'll tell you, the person to get the Laundries' first interview, man, They will. It's going to be big.
It's going to be gold. I know.
Yes.
It'll be
golden.
It will be. You know, I was thinking about this too. So I think there's a lot of confusion because there was a lack of how do I describe this? There's almost a lack of accountability. So you have Grand Teton where Gabby disappears, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where people are looking.
Right.
She's reported out of New York.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got Brian down in Northport. So you've got these 3 agencies in a triangle.
Right.
And I think that everybody was trying to take charge and everybody had their hands in everything, where immediately when this started happening, and I know it happened at one point, but I think it happened too late. Somebody needed to stand up, like when you're in a group project, and say, okay, this has really been great trying to work like a commune, but we know that doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
So we need a leader.
Yeah.
And here,
exactly.
Here I am. I'm the FBI. I'm leading.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to tell you what to do. And it's because I think Northport was really worried about what was going up in New York when they didn't have eyes on Brian.
Right.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Obviously. And they were saving face from early on in this case. I mean, Josh Taylor, the public information officer, this the other thing I was joking with Trisha about, when he was at the FBI press conference yesterday.
And who, say that again, who this was?
It's Josh Taylor. He's the public information officer for Northport Police Department,
Okay.
which is a good position for somebody to be in. But I don't think Josh sees a lot of national action.
Right.
And I am criticizing him, but when you have to stand up and be the face of something, people are going to come at you and it's going to feel personal. And it's not personal towards you.
Mm-hmm.
It's the statement you're making for a group.
Right.
And Josh started getting very defensive very early on when they asked him. And there was one point where he's talking to Brian Enton, and Brian Enton says, how did the car get out of the driveway? How did the Mustang get out of the driveway? And you guys didn't see. And Josh turns around and he says, well, did you see it happen? like Brian,
not his job.
Brian
Yeah.
Enton, News Nation now has been deputized as NPPD. So it got a little ridiculous. And the whole thing about we know exactly where Brian is. And then he's called out on that. And, he's like, well, clearly we didn't, but he can't even say it in a diplomatic way. So anyway, This is Josh Taylor, who has been seen in the same clothes 3 days in a row. So the poor guy wasn't sleeping. He just, it's a hot mess.
Mm-hmm.
But he's at the FBI press conference yesterday. So the McPherson is at the podium. And then if you're facing to the left is Josh. Josh is so starstruck by the FBI. He's taking pictures with his iPhone during the press conference of the FBI in charge, the agent in charge of the investigation. He's also taking what looks like panoramic photos. You guys can't see my hands. Panoramic photos. He's doing this, the thing of the crowd. And so I think maybe part of Josh's responsibility is to provide photos for social media. And he decided a really good time to do that was during the FBI conference, where Brian's parents found his remains.
You know a lot about media. Tell us why that's just not a good look.
Well, because being starstruck is the kiss of death when you work in any public relations type of thing, especially the higher up you go. And it's because, if you're, let me think of somebody popular right now. I don't know.
Madonna.
You're Madonna. So you're Madonna, and every time you step out on a curb, you've got paparazzi. That's right. That's all Vogue. Every time you step out on a curb, the paparazzi's there. The lady at McDonald's wants your autograph. I don't think Matt goes to McDonald's because she's all, whatever. But you know what I'm saying? She can't go to a restaurant. They're stealing her credit card slip because she signed it. I don't care if I have to pay for the dinner. I just got Madonna's autograph. When you're working with those people, You can't do that because that's behind the scenes, and that's where they're supposed to be safe and protective. You're not necessarily protecting them, but that's supposed to be a safe space for them away from the public.
You're not behaving like the public. You're giving them a break.
You can't be a fangirl. You can't, you really, it's just a no-no.
Mhm.
And you can't ask for autographs. You can't, say my nephew's in Make-A-Wish and and
Right.
this is what he wants, and can you sign it, or can you take a photo with me? Like, that is all like no.
Mhm.
No.
Right.
In fact, people go to lengths with people of higher status of let's just say you're in a green room, okay? You're at a speaking event or you're at an entertainment event and you're in a green room and you've had a 7-Up and half a sandwich,
Mhm.
right? And you blew your nose, all right? Yeah. A good PR person, a good handler is going to go in there and take the trash and stick it in a rolly bag and take it to another city to dispose of it, because nobody's going to go through there and find,
your client's DNA.
yeah, your Trisha's half a sandwich, or
Mhm.
Madonna's half of a Pellegrino,
Right.
Because people are weird,
Yeah. They are very weird. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this is gonna, Amy, we're all gonna look back on this like a year from now, because we'll find out a lot of stuff by then, and we'll have learned a lot. And I think this case will be used as a teaching case for law enforcement in the future, and that'll probably be one of the things. Hey, don't let your PR guy, your spokesperson, act like a fan, taking pictures and panorama and all of that,
Maybe have 24-hour surveillance on your person of interest, even if he's not named yet.
Yeah,
because
that'd be even more important than the PR guy. You're right.
we know he was a person of interest before,
Yes.
Before it was announced.
Exactly. Now, we have a question from chat, if I may.
Sure.
VP says, the bag the dad found was across the trail. Was that underwater too? Has that been determined, or do we know anything about it?
Mm-mm.
We don't know.
Mm-mm.
Are we assuming it was underwater and that's why it hasn't been seen?
Yes.
That's I thought that's what it was. We were assuming it had been underwater. That's why nobody found it.
Mm-hmm.
And now, since they hadn't been back there to search and the water had receded, I would assume the notebook was in there for them to say positively it was Brian's, or it was in something that, because if the notebook had even just baked in the sun without getting wet, it would have been ruined.
Right. So there's a possibility that notebook was in a dry bag,
Mhm.
like what you would put your phone in, or like
Right.
Stuff like that. So there is a possibility it was in there. We don't know for sure. I think it probably was. I would think most people that are experienced and go into a situation like that know that they don't want their paper, their matches, or whatever, flint, whatever it is, getting wet, and all that stuff goes in a dry bag. But again, interesting, because all of that would smell of Brian, right? And so that's another thing that dogs did not pick up on. They didn't pick up on human remains. They didn't pick up on that. And it's just, it really is mind-boggling to me.
Well, they're either going to have to prove that those things weren't there when the dogs went through, or they're going to have to do some retraining or recategory, maybe demote the dogs. Not the dog's fault, obviously.
Right.
But really, they need to look into that to see. That's the main thing they need to see, is why didn't the dogs alert? Because if the dogs aren't going to alert on that, what else are they missing?
Right.
But if there was any chance for the family to get those things there after they had searched, and maybe, I don't know. I just don't know enough about the place, about the dogs. I like you. I don't think for 1 second the parents put Brian there. Now watch, that'll be what happens, because this thing is just so damn weird.
You guys, I know a lot of you are seeing on News Station now. Brian Enton reported that it was wet and that whatever. I get it. I heard the exact opposite on 2 other major stations. I don't think that anybody, just so we're clear here, I don't think that anybody's wrong. I think there's a lot of confusion right now.
Yeah.
So I don't think anybody knows somebody knows for sure, but I mean, I'm not Just putting it out there.
Mhm.
I saw Joseph Scott Morgan on CNN, and they were talking a completely different scenario. So I just think that's it. It's all a cluster right now.
Mhm.
Things will start clearing up.
It will.
Hopefully they will be transparent. Kim Schlicker says use that sunshine to get that information. Yeah, well,
Well, that's the thing about Florida. They do have to release this information
they
eventually.
do.
And that's you can complain a lot about Florida, but that's a great thing. We
It is.
will have this information at some point. And Amy, do you know how that works? How long they have to hang on to it, or?
It's kind of in this case, I can't give you any dates and times because I think when you're talking about perhaps, so here's a snag. If Brian is self-inflicted, we may not
ever see it because it's not a crime,
right? And we don't release reports on that. That goes to the family usually, not 100% of the time, but usually. The rest of the stuff, it depends on who's in charge of the case. So we have the FBI involved, and then we have Florida, so we have Northport. So if it's the FBI's case and we're talking about things they were preparing for discovery or whatever, I don't know how that will work.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
That does make sense, and that's frustrating. So again, if it is ruled a suicide, you're right. Then we won't get it, but we'll get everything else surrounding it. So, Amy, I do have to get going, but I want to remind everybody to please hit that thumbs up and become a subscriber to Amy's channel, True Crime Sushi. And don't forget, Amy does take donations, and we appreciate any donations that you can pass along because it does cost money to do this, my friends. I want to remind everybody I will be live tomorrow on YouTube, 5 p.m. Eastern, while NBC and Universal Studios are here. That's how they title themselves. Now, I don't know why. I don't know.
Them like moving the theme park into your house. Like
That's
Universal Studios, like in your house.
Who knows what it's going to be? But so I'll be doing a live stream tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern, and I'll put that up first thing in the morning, and we'll get it all going. And I hope you all can join me and just make it a very lively live stream.
I'm super excited. I'm going to be at work all day tomorrow, but I am going to. Yeah, I know. I'm doing my 14-hour day tomorrow, but I am going to be there for you because you've always been there for me. So.
Oh, you're so sweet. Well, if you lose your job, you had to do it, Amy. You had to. I needed you.
Put on some blue rubber gloves and get to work, sister.
Thank you, Amy. You are such a sweetheart. Thank you for helping me out tonight. Everybody, love you in chat. Hit that thumbs up. Subscribe, and we'll see you tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern. Okay?
All right. Good night.
Good night, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye. Isn't that exciting? Like when she started telling me this the other night, I was like, oh my God. And she didn't even want to tell me at first because she's like, well, I kind of feel like I don't want to talk about it because I feel like I'm sort of bragging. And I'm like, you deserve this. Oh my gosh, this is your moment. So yeah, super, super exciting. Very, I can't believe it. And I know I can see her in my little screen, and I know you're still listening. I know, I see you with your blue gloves. Get some sleep tonight so that you're playing your A game, okay? All right. Well, on that note, my sushi crew, I think I'm going to let you go. It's 11:46. I know that's a little short probably for your taste, and I'm so sorry about that. I do work 14 hours tomorrow. It's been a crazy day. I expect that things will continue to unfold slowly over the next few days, and some of it will be really big, and some of it will maybe seem small, but fill in a big gap. So we're just going to have to hang tight and see how this works. I imagine that Gabby's family will make a public statement soon. Right now, they're kind of there was a statement issued today that they were just going to remain quiet for a while out of respect, and of course, we all get that. And so, thank you very much. Ping and Rain Dancer and my sweet Tambra and all the Mod Squad, everybody for hanging in there with me tonight. And I think that's it. I'll be back on Saturday. I don't think I'm going to be doing anything on Friday. I just need an evening that's a little more, and plus I can't imagine after working all day doing it. So I'd like to do something fun on Saturday. I'm going to put up some ideas and do like a poll, like a POLL in the community section of my YouTube. And speaking of that, let me just tell you, you can find me on Facebook at truecrimesushi.com. I'm probably most accessible or like most active on Twitter, and that's at Crime Sushi. Super easy to find me. On Instagram, I post like, they all my social media kind of mirrors each other, but on Instagram I might get a little bit more personal. There's, it's kind of a mix of documents and then like, like a little just glimpse of what's going on in my life. So if you're interested in Instagram, it's just True Crime Sushi. And then of course we have here. So I'd like to keep all our discussion in the comments section underneath these videos. You guys have great ideas. You make me think. I love reading your comments. I love being able to come back and say, oh, so-and-so said this, and what do you guys think? And so I think we should all take take the opportunity to do that. Are we going to play True Crime Bingo? No. No. But there might be a time where we'll play True Crime Trivia. So we'll see about that, if that's something you guys are interested in. So on that note, I am going to bid you all good night. Please hit the subscribe button if you already haven't. It means a lot to me when you do that. Also, if you like this video, give it a like. If you think it sucks, give it a thumbs down. If you have corrective criticism for me, and you can say it in a way that is corrective criticism and not being a jerk, I want to hear it because I want to get better. There are things I know that I need to improve, and I'm trying to do that along the way, but I need to know what works for you guys as well. So I'm open to hearing, from you. When I started doing this, one of my biggest goals was to have a very personal connection with the people that listen. And I hope I'm fostering that. So, like my email is Amy, AIMEE at truecrimesushi.com. I will answer your emails. If you message me via Facebook Messenger, I get back to you. If you comment on YouTube, I read it. If you reach out to me, it's going to be very rare that you're not going to hear back from me, especially if you're asking something specific. So please continue to do that. On that note, Sushi Crew, I'm going to bid you good night, and I am going to see you Saturday evening. And see you Saturday. See you on the flip side. Night, everybody.